Now, a lot is happening in the political terrain, especially in the camps of the two major political parties in Nigeria. To have deeper understanding of some of the issues, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs, Senator Ita Enang, joins us now from our Abuja studio for more insights. Good to have you with us on the program, sir.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and I hope it's going to be a friendly hangout.
It's always
Absolutely.
It's always friendly, yeah, the hangout, sir.
Thank you.
All right, let's start this conversation this way now, by its constitution. Now, there are two ways by which NEC meeting can be called. The chairman or two-thirds of members of the NWC are the people who can convene the meeting. Now, don't you think the NEC meeting sacking Oshomole and his team wasn't properly convened? What are your thoughts?
I will not want to go on the propriety or otherwise of that NEC meeting. But I just simply want to say that to have persons who constitute NEC and can take any action as National Executive Committee of the party, there must be persons who were elected in a convention. Now, how I arrive at this is according to section 2231A and section 2232 of the 1999 Constitution, and also the Constitution of the party, which says that the only persons who can function as officers of the party are persons who are elected at a convention of the party. As of today, the only persons who were elected at the conventions or at the convention of the party are the persons who were elected along with His Excellency Comrade Adams Oshomole. But His Excellency Adams Oshomole had resigned, so he's no more in office voluntarily, and then there is a wrong. So these are the only persons who can take any action on behalf of the party. Let me, before I go further, thank His Excellency Maimala Buni, the governor of Yobe State, who is acting as the chairman of the party, and also say that in this advocacy that I am not in any manner impugning His Excellency or the committee. But in this matter, I'm not also appearing here as a senior special assistant to the president. I'm appearing and making this advocacy as a member of the party, as a lawyer, as a legislator, and one who's been involved in most of the laws that are now subject of interpretation and litigation. So I am just making it as a person who has interest in the welfare of the party in it, to avoid the kind of situation of having a hollow victory or a victory in subsequent elections which may be declared null and void. Now, I want to also say that I thank His Excellency and the entire caretaker committee, because part of one of the first things I said, I think around 29th or 30th of 29th of July, was that we should pause every action, retreat, study the Supreme Court judgment, and let it guide our further action in respect of these matters. Now, so I am still here, first to thank the caretaker committee for suspending further action to consult itself. But I want to tell the committee and all our party leaders and members that please, let us not fan ourselves or celebrate that we are relying on the majority judgment. Yes, the majority judgment is the judgment, but read the majority judgment so well. I have read it, I have it all around me. There is no point and no time to read almost all of them, you know. I've read also the minority judgment. Now, there are also very salient points. all they said in 7 of them is that as at today, since Mai Malabunu, the chairman of the caretaker committee, who signed the papers, whose action is constitutionally entangled, him being a serving governor in a state, and if they go on to declare that his action is one way or the other, lawful or unlawful, it will be infringing his right to fair hearing, because he is not joined as a party. The court also went ahead to say that although the agent of a named principal, you don't need to, but then this is very specific and the consequences will be very hard. If that is so, let us retreat. Come back into the house as a party. Look at, if the chances are 50-50, let us take the part of caution and then advise ourselves on what to do. Now, on this advice on this opinion that I'm asking the party to come together and examine, it has to be more far-reaching than the Akeredolu case. Now, I want the party to do 3 things. 1, let it go to 2013-2014 and see and study the history of PDP and how it fell and APC now took power, and ensure that in all that we are doing, none of the things that we are doing is resembling any of those actions or steps. Secondly, let us have a scrutiny team that will look at how did we lose all the situation in Rivers State, where we ended up not having a candidate for councillor, House of Assembly, House of Representatives, Senate, and governorship. Can we learn a lesson from there? And can we bring the party together? Can we look at the law and make sure that that kind of thing is not repeated? Can we go to Zamfara and say, what were the legal issues? And were they not known? Were there no precedences that had happened before, and then which we would have learned, and yet somebody still proceeded with that? Filed the candidate. We won all the elections, from governorship, Senate, House of Representatives, House of Assembly, and yet the Supreme Court annulled all, and persons who were sitting in their houses not ready were called to be sworn in. How did we also go into the Bayelsa case, when about 15 hours to swearing in, we now had a situation where the court said a matter that had started and we were pre-warned or forewarned, yet it was said or persons thought that their powers can do and undo because they have the power and sit on seats. Then we lost, we won the election, but PDP was sworn in. Let us go to Edo and see, were there actions and activities which could have been avoided that led to the loss of the party in Edo? Because it's a loss of the party. Having lost the serving governor then on the platform of a party, he defected to the other political party, he was accepted, he was made a candidate, he's won. If he had been on our part, we would have won. So we lost Edo on this. This is the second aspect of my prayers. The last aspect of my prayer that our party should do, I'm not here to criticize because I don't want to give a bullet to the opposition party. I'm here to work on how do we come together and solve the problems. Let us look at all the issues the majority of the justices said, the minority of the justices said, what they said in even other cases that didn't concern us, what they said in even the Imo State case, which we became the beneficiary, and then look at it and now say, can we go on like this? We will definitely advise ourselves that we cannot go on like this, because if we go on like this, we are likely to suffer a basket of trauma. A basket of trauma, indeed a basket of trauma. May God not allow. So it is for us to go back to, for discovery.
Okay, Senator.
Let individuals who have power and authority not think that it is the power and authority that they have that is the law.
No, it's not.
Let every person in the party and in office remember that the party and individuals in the party can be mighty, but the courts and the Supreme Court are almighty.
Yes.
Right, we'll hold your thoughts for that.
Whatever you think you can do and you do right.
Let's quickly hold your thoughts.
Right
BK wants to ask you a question.
There is a power.
Senator Ita.
Senator, let me come in at this stage. Let me come in at this stage. The candidate of the PDP in the governorship election in Ondo State was asked the salient question: why didn't you join Governor Mai Mala Buni in that matter? And he said he did not join him because the governor had immunity. So he felt that if he had joined him, the matter, I mean, the case would have been dead on arrival. As a lawyer who was called to bar since 1985, where do you stand on this? Do you agree with Jegede?
Incidentally, the Supreme Court had delivered a judgment, and I am bound by it, that he was a necessary party who ought to have been brought and made a party in the suit in his name. But I'm also aware that under the Constitution, a serving governor enjoys immunity.
Yes.
And if you bring him in, first of the thing that he will plead is that I plead my immunity. And the court will say that he is likely to answer for that question, but it will be after his election. Yet, electoral cases are time-bound and time-relevant. But I will not question the Supreme Court, I will not give further bullet or pellet to Jegede, the learned senior advocate of Nigeria.
No, because that is the issue, that is the point that many people who think that this alarm that you have raised is immaterial, that is the point that they are making, that look, whatever happens, the governor has immunity, nothing will happen. We need you to give your position as a lawyer on this matter.
Now, I want to say that I am a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer to Jegede. I was not a lawyer in the matter. The Supreme Court has delivered a position. My party is working on bringing everybody together. I will not give an opinion on this matter, but in part of the research I'm doing, I may give an opinion. But anything I say here could be taken and it will be adverse to
as
our party,
as a weapon to the
APC,
opponent.
And I will do everything to protect our party.
Okay, I understand. You don't want to give a weapon to the opponent. But
yes,
let's still on this matter. Why do you think it's so difficult for everyone to see the wisdom in just taking the part of caution? Why is this so difficult? Why do we have some hawks who are saying, no, nothing will happen? We have very good lawyers within the APC. Why is it difficult to get people to understand that, look, this is the best thing to do in this circumstance? And as a follow-up to that, I also want to ask you that we have the vice president who is a professor of law. What steps has he made on this matter, you know, as a way of trying to get everyone to do what is right?
Well, it will be inappropriate for me to speak in public what each and every person has done to make sure this matter is resolved. What I have also done in terms of memo and advocacy behind, I will not say all here. That is why I'm not reading out the judgments. That is why I'm not reading out sections of the Constitution or Constitution of a party. I only made reference to section 223, which is very germane of the Constitution. Now, the lawyers are also working. You know, it is that the law is like, they say the law is like an ass, and it depends sometimes on the way you, on where you stand. But then the Supreme Court judgment and even the judgments of the Court of Appeal and even the High Court have been very directional. Some of them have just stopped short of telling us you are wrong or telling us what to do, but they have pointed to us a direction. I believe that this is why the Mai Mala Bunu committee has stopped every other thing and said, look, let us pause, and they have paused. I believe that in the course of pausing, or in the pause, we will examine the matter as lawyers within the party, lawyers within the government, lawyers within interest group, lawyers who are advocates of this side or this side, and then we arrive at a situation where we are capable of resolving our problem. Now, how will we resolve our problems? We will have to look and say, if, as at today, the constitution of the country says that the officers of the party must emerge by a democratically election process. Now, the constitution of the party also says that the convention is the place where officers of the party can be elected. We will also say, if the present persons are not officers who were elected at that convention, then can they legitimately file any candidate in the election which will not be challenged by the opposition party? I've read the majority and minority judgments, and the judgments of both sides of the Supreme Court have agreed that most of these issues are pre-election matters, because the jurisdiction of the election petition tribunals is limited and circumscribed, and that being so, they could not have gone into some of these matters, which are matters best dealt with at pre-election matters. We will take the hint of the Supreme Court. We will not and should not behave as if we are the Almighty. We will behave as if we are simply mighty in our level, but that we should respect the almightiness of the courts, because whatever they say is the law. Whatever vote is cast is, like the Supreme Court said, the vote that were cast for a candidate who was not a candidate in an election is a wasted vote. So all you do is go and look for the candidate, go and see the candidate that had the next highest number of lawful votes cast in the election, because vote cast for an improperly filed person is an unlawful vote. Cast for an unlawful person, it goes to no issue, it is a waste. So we will guide ourselves in all this. And in that, we will arrive at the conclusion to say, now, should we continue in this path and say that the caretaker committee should continue working and then we only remove Mai Mala Bunu and a few other persons? Or should we take the path that is cleanest by saying, look, there is only one members of the National Executive Committee of the party that were elected at a convention, and their tenure is still valid and subsisting. Can't we call them back, give them a role of 2 or 3 months to conduct election, and after that go out and then a proper executive that can file candidates that will not be a 50-50 chance of survival in court? B. Now, again, can we not look at the situation? Because I've heard arguments of persons who say that they can form committee, the NEC can form its committees. Yes, NEC, National Executive Committee, can form committee. But 3 things. 1, the National Executive Committee must be the National Executive Committee that emerged from a convention. 1. 2, it must also be the National Executive Committee that is in existence and forming a committee to handle a specific assignment and report to it, the committee that was elected at the convention. And finally,
it's a convoluted matter.
When we are in a position like this, and we, or shouldn't we, look at the best way of surviving and know one basic principle, and that basic principle is that you do not learn to stay alive in the grave. And I say it again, no one learns how to stay alive in the grave.
Point taken there, Senator.
We are in the political grave in Rivers, Bayelsa, Zamfara, even in nearly in Edo, and just merely surviving by emergency oxygen in Ondo.
All right, we need to create...
So let's take a best of decisions.
All right, now I understand Mr. Nwakwo has a question for you. Please go ahead with your question, Mr. Nwakwo.
Yes, Senator Enang. It's
Thank
obvious.
you,
Go ahead, it's listening.
It's obvious that Mr. President used the magisterial powers of his office, to interfere in this matter by way of goading the former chairman of the party, Oshomole, to leave office, and then brought the caretaker committee chairman. Now that he has returned from abroad, what role do you think he can play in remedying this situation? Secondly, one of the advocacies you are trying to make of setting up a panel to scrutinize, all the gray areas involved in this matter, I think was what the vice president did at the behest of the president when he was abroad. When all the lawyers in the cabinet were summoned, and the vice president presided, yet they could not agree. Now, what difference would this very panel you are asking for now will make in this matter? Given that the vice president, a senior lawyer at that, had presided over a similar meeting, and then you people could not go any headway from there.
Thank you very much. First, let me say that I will not agree with you that it was Mr. President had any role in the Oshomole's matter. It was a party matter, and the party dealt with it in the manner that they deemed appropriate, and His Excellency, the former chairman, resigned. Now, on the question of that the vice president chair a committee and all that, those are matters of a domestic administrative nature, which I am not in a position to say yes or no to it, because it is not a matter that was within the public domain. And I'm not in a position to say yes or no.
Okay, let's quickly ask.
But the committee, the kind of thing I'm talking about is, let us look at, not a committee, let us have teams within the party, Let us constitute like the adversarial, the people who are pros and cons. And let us have like a team that is going to deliver like a role, that is going to say, look, if it were me, this is what I will say.
Okay, let me quickly come in here, Ita.
Just to be able to come out of it.
I have to hold you there. Let me quickly ask you this question. What advice now would you give the president as a leader of the party?
Please let me also plead my privilege that it will not be appropriate for me to speak on that at this forum. I plead my privilege and I must apologize to you.
Okay, let me ask you this now. How would you rate the performance of Mai Mala Buni and his caretaker team so far? Let's be honest here.
They have done extremely well. They have reconciled members. They have brought members back. They have made the party so interesting that 7 governors have come to join us. They have run the party in such a manner that serving senators and House of Reps members are decamping to join us. House of Assembly members are joining us, and we are winning in grades, you know. So they have done well. But the question is this. In law, we say that no matter how beautifully written a judgment is, if it is written and delivered without jurisdiction, it goes to no issue. It's like if it didn't exist. So while we appreciate what they have done, we appreciate their roles, but we want to say that the courts have given us hints, so many hints, in many directions, as if it were to hold our ears and saying, you have ear, hear this, oh, and that the next time you may not be lucky. We should take the hint and then go back to see, should we not painfully, very painfully, call back the working committee without Oshomole, without persons who had resigned and passed on, and then give them just a simple job of conducting a congresses and conventions. Because the question is, from all the judgments I have read, some of them, these issues did not arise as to whether persons who were not elected at a convention of the party can file candidates. And the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, in all the judgments I have read, had said that these are matters which ought not to be determined by the Election Petition Tribunal.
Yes.
There are matters of pre-election matters which could better be attended to by the Federal High Court or Court of Competent Jurisdiction at trial level. Now, if that is so, go back to yourself. Put your lawyer against, put your lawyer for, be the judge, and say, look, can we risk this situation? Can we risk this situation? And gentlemen, can we keep risking this situation? And I want to finally say, I want to formally again say, let us go back and study the kind of situation, the way PDP was going in 2013, 2014, when it eventually lost. It was when groups, teams, trusts, and organizations within the main body exercised so much powers that they thought they had, and they didn't have those powers. Some were declared legal, some were found by others to be non-conscionable, and they left the party, and the party tore apart, and there were so many illegal issues, and people got. Now, we're lucky that we're still having the party together, and everybody is still having confidence in the party. Let us sustain this confidence by trying to do the right thing.
All right, let me quickly finally ask you this question. Will the APC ever win your home state, given the fact that you were well beaten in the last elections? Let's also be honest in this.
Well, if you study the trend in that election, our party did not win that election. Our party was not, because of a combination of factors. And of course, all those factors were made known at the Election Petition Tribunal. And we declared that it was we that win, but it was the other party was wrongly declared. But we are stronger on ground. We're doing everything to make sure that those 10 factors that made we complained against the Independent National Electoral Commission. We complained against even some security agencies. We complained against some institutions. But that will be in the past. And we will win in the next election. APC will win Akwa Ibom State. Gubernatorial, senatorial, House of Representatives, Senate.
Everything. Everything. You are very optimistic, Senator.
Thank you very much.
We are, definitely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Senator Ita Enang, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Niger Delta Affairs. We appreciate your insights with us on Journalist
Thank you very much. And I say I'm here in my personal capacity and as a member of the party and not in my official capacity.
Yeah, we know.
And personal capacity and a member trying to find solution to our problems. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, you're still